Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much and welcome everybody. It's awesome. Awesome to see some familiar faces and some new faces. We are on page XXII, that is Roman numerals, page 22, forward to the third edition. And I'm here with Bill S. He's over there. It's customary for us. What we do is we just go line by line. We're going to stop. There'll be some cool AA history, some explanation of the wording that's been used, some experience. There's going to be a lot of things that I'll be saying from my own experience and how I've, perceived this. A lot of it is reading from the book. That's the real truth over there. And some Google and silkwith.net archives. So yeah, let's kick it off. Forward to the third edition. By March 1976, when this edition went to the printer, the total worldwide membership of Alcoholics Anonymous was conservatively estimated at more than 1 million, with almost 28,000 groups meeting in over 90 countries. It's quite a lot going on there. By March 1976, when this edition went to the printer, the total worldwide membership, and I just want to look at that, like that's I think one of the greatest gifts that has come out of the year 2020, if I got it right, 2019, 2020. We were all sitting locked up in our homes. On Saturday afternoon, I got to attend a 3-hour workshop in Boca Raton. I have no idea what that is. I don't know. I think that it's Florida or something. For me, like when I think of Florida, I think of the Hollywood movies with those lots of like different marshlands. But it was just amazing. I was sitting in that meeting with members from all over the world. There was somebody from New Zealand was there, and you will not believe it, there was a South African who lives in Toronto. I mean, this is a worldwide global fellowship. And it says here, a worldwide membership of Alcoholics Anonymous. In our preamble, the opening to this meeting, Rob read from page 160. So let's just go over to page 160 and see if that's actually what Rob read. Let's go look. Page 160 in the chapter Vision for You, right at the top. It says, sorry, the page before, I'll just read the first line. It became customary to set apart one night a week for a meeting to be attended by anyone or everyone interested in a spiritual way of life. One fellowship. There's one fellowship. If you're looking for a spiritual way of life, we got the book for you, and that's what we're doing today. We're snorkeling around this. Something else that I picked up here is just that number 1 million. I mean, that is like the hand of God, right? This number was reached by one alcoholic talking to another, and the publication of this book from a broke organization. I mean, come on, that's amazing, right? And I went and I found something really cool. I went and I did a little bit of a trawl on the internet, and I looked at AA Grapevine to see what they could come up with me for prior to 1976. So this is an article from June 1973. And what we'll do is in the WhatsApp group that I'm going to post the link in, we'll share the link group, join us, we'll put these fun facts in there. It says here, in 1973, the White House accepted the 1 millionth copy of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay? Now listen to this. Measuring just how high, you might ask. You would come out with 27.62 miles if you pack the big book on top of each other like that, 1 million copies of that. 27 miles of sacred text. I mean, life-giving literature. That's pretty cool, right? I'd love to walk that. I think you're going to walk 27 miles with Bill and I, the place we're going. In other words, you'd need a bookshelf almost 28 miles long to hold 1 million copies of AA's basic text. Isn't that cool, guys? Sorry, I think that's totally cool. Oh, and another caveat, I'm a total big book nerd. And for the first time in my life, I can own the title nerd. proudly, proudly. I love this book. And I love all the facts that go with it. What else was the other thing I wanted to note here? Yeah. This, the worldwide membership of Alcoholics Anonymous. Remember what it says on page 46. It says that this the highway of God. Let's go to page 46, the third paragraph, right at the bottom. This one fellowship that I'm referring to. Why am I referring to it? Because the book tells us that the realm of the spirit is broad, roomy, all inclusive, never exclusive. So everybody's welcome here. If you're looking for a spiritual way of life, all inclusive, never exclusive. But interestingly, there are almost 256 12-step fellowships that have stemmed from this book. Overeaters, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts, the list can go on and on and on ad infinitum. Actually, it could. Yeah, that's just my little bit on the first paragraph. Bill, have you got it?
Based on what's taking place in the White House, maybe we gave the wrong president a copy of the book. Wow, amazing stuff that Rob and Steve have. You know, I was thinking about something, and it's always it's a pleasure to be here. You know, I know I'm getting better, because if there was information I didn't know, what I would do is refuse to get any new information. Isn't that amazing? And now there's just a plethora, right? How could there not be? How could there not be, with that many sober alcoholics, that many agents, right, of God's advancing creation are here with us? And if I can keep an open mind and allow what's taking place in Alcoholics Anonymous to treat my alcoholism, all of that's available to me. And even more importantly, as long as Rob's got all that on the archives, I don't need to burden myself with that. So I get to experience what I'm supposed to experience, and I get to be a part of rather than apart from. And that's the amazing thing that was taking place. I wanted to get down. I want to wait till you get down to my favorite paragraph in this. Forward is the last one, but we're not there yet. So, I mean, we might get there by what, April or May. But I'm not going to stop you anymore. It's good to be.
Yeah, no, but I'm sure I think we might actually even venture over to the fourth edition tonight. Who knows? Let's see where this goes. Let's see where Spirit takes us tonight. All right, we're going to continue reading. Welcome to all those that have joined us. We are on Roman numerals, page XV. Oops, sorry. I just bounced over. XXII, that's page 22, the forward to the third edition. We're on the second paragraph. Surveys of groups in the United States and Canada indicate that AA is reaching out not only to more and more people, to a wider and wider range. Women now make up more than 1/4 of the membership. Among newer members, the proportion is nearly 1/3. 7% of the AAs surveyed are less than 30 years of age, among them many in their teens. Now, there's quite a bit that I've got to say about this. The first thing there is, like, again, I'm just gonna come back to this worldwide fellowship, this survey across the United States and Canada. You know, I've had the immense privilege of being sponsored with a woman in Toronto. I've been sponsored with a man in the Bay Area. I have sponsored women and men in the UK. I have got brothers and sisters that I've got to wait for them to wait because their time zones are completely out of whack with, I mean, we're like, it's crazy, right? But my brothers and sisters in New Zealand and Australia, I've shared in Moscow. I've shared in India. I've shared at a meeting where there's been a translator. As I share, we wait and they translate. I mean, it's just unbelievable, like Bill said, the things that the agents are doing in carrying this message, the platforms that we're creating so that we can carry this message, so we We are hungry, hungry to give the solution to the still suffering alcoholic out there. That's that's the whole deal there, right? That is the whole deal. And you see these things mushrooming and popping up, and the ideas coming out. This big book compendium. Or if you go over to YouTube, there's a whole range of book studies by fellows out there doing this work, showing up every week, week after week, and doing this work, spreading this medicine, getting people excited about this book, diving into the book, seeing what it, because it really let's get real with each other. This is a program of rigorous honesty, right? When you see this book the first time, you're like, what? Life-giving, life-changing, designed for life. It looks like it should be in a secondhand bookstore. It even smells like it should be in a secondhand bookstore. And the words are pretty antiquated. But when you go into these book studies with people like my brother Bill that I just absolutely adore, and we walk shoulder to shoulder on this journey, this book comes alive. Every single time that I open it up, sparks fly out. Told you I'm a book nerd, so just bear with me, okay? And then
Can I say something about this
yeah,
paragraph? I didn't want to interrupt you. I guess I did. I went yesterday to a sponsorship and a home group workshop out in Sandusky. I was telling Tim about it. And we were given a handout, and this just happens to be March. A lot of stuff took place in March and April in Alcoholics Anonymous. So, Rob, I don't know that you can find it, and I don't know that you have to. But in the AA Grapevine in March of 1991, there was an article published, Who's Sitting Next to You? It's a phenomenal read. I mean, it's just short. I'm not going to read it to you here. If you're interested, do it. But it talks about what our responsibility is to someone that we don't recognize. And that was in a live meeting, a group. It was a brick and mortar group here on Zoom. So going back to what I was trying to say is, how do you think they surveyed the groups? Because that's how the paragraph started. So you get some people who are well-intentioned but misinformed that'll tell you, I have 12 home groups. Well, guess what? You can have all the home groups you want, but you get one vote at one group. Because what happened is some people weren't joining a group because they're non-committal. You know how we are. We don't want to commit to anything. God forbid something better is happening next Friday. But they joined 6 or 7 rosters. And then what happens is Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess World Services, would that be the appropriate name, Rob? The people who keep a tally, it's not like they send out a census and they don't monitor it or update it every day, but they were getting the size. How do you think they knew how many sober alcoholics were in AA? And then I think about it's going to go from 28,000 groups to the forward to the 4th edition, 100,800 groups. And someone keeps track of all that. They now assign numbers. And someone knows each group. They go into our local meeting schedules. And I just wonder, with the advent of Zoom, how many more meetings have now been added? How many more groups now exist? And things get reported to New York. And then what happens is they come out and they say, okay, let's see who's attending it. If I'm not on the roster, no one knows. And I'm sure it's an estimate as closely as they can make it. But if I've got 5 home groups and I'm voting on issues that affect AA as a whole, when the GSR takes it to the region or whatever the next up the ladder is, then all of a sudden they used to talk about we're padding the payroll in AA. Because I would count them for 5 people that are in AA, which is not true at all. I'm one person with one vote. And so it's important when they come up with surveys and you say, well, I know 7% were this and teens and so on and so forth, because they kind of ask the groups. And if you, and I don't think that numbers were the index for the meetings all the time. And I'll say something interesting because I'm from Cleveland. It has nothing to do with the book. But we own our central office here in Cleveland, Ohio. It was around long before the traditions. And what that means is, and it's actually March again, here we go. It's annual fund drive for the central office. So you have volunteers that man the phones. They still do live 12-step calls here, which means if someone has a question or a concern or trying to get sober or need information, they call the central office. And throughout the year, for the hours we're open, and I believe it's 24 hours a day still. Groups have a 4-hour period to where they man the phones, even if the phone is redirected. It used to be we'd go down to central office, especially over holiday times, and we'd sit there so the regular employees of our central office could have their time off just like a regular job. But Cleveland owns their central office, so and we still send the world in the 10-30-60 plan, whatever it is, 60-30-10. But we have an annual pledge for the entire month of March that an individual, and you don't have to give it all at once, you can make a pledge and make contributions to keep the central office in this area going. I think other groups are set up more like corporations. They're not run the way Cleveland is. Now, I don't know if we're the only one, Rob. We boast of that, but we boast of a lot of things here in Cleveland. But I'm telling you, we own our central office. It's not a part of Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole, although it serves Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole. We're responsible for the phone lines and the mail and the books and the ordering and the answer of the phone calls. So it's an interesting concept. And like my buddy Freddie says, 99% of the sober members of AA in Cleveland, Ohio, don't even know where the central office is. Shame on us. Thanks, Nod. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, and then something else that I wanted to pick up on here is the second line. Surveys of groups in United States and Canada indicate that AA is reaching out. And it just, I just stopped there and I was like, what am I doing to reach out? Me, Nadia, like as a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, what is it that I'm doing to reach out? Well, I get to have the privilege and the pleasure of doing this book study on a Monday night. Got another one that wraps up the end of the week on a Sunday. We've got a podcast that we do once a month for parents in recovery. Every morning, got a sponsee on the list. We go to the home group to go find the newcomer. I could do more, and I want to do more. I could make this a life vacation. It says in the book that not many of us get to do that. We make use of much of our spare time, but just stop for yourself and just think, how much are you doing to reach out to the newcomer and carry this message? That got me thinking. So that was just something I highlighted and put a little question mark there. Not to only, and then my favorite subject, of course, women. I'm one. So it says here, women now make up more than 1/4 of the membership. This is at the time of the 3rd edition. So I think Rob's already posted it. There's a really cool PowerPoint presentation, I think it is, Rob, that someone's put together. It's so awesome. It highlights all the women contributors to early AA. A little snapshot on their history, some not alcoholics, others sober and non-alcoholic members. Even one of those members were on our board. I think it's Henrietta, right, who said that call was like manna when Bill made that call to find to Bob. I know Bill shared on that amazing miraculous story last week. I think she's in that flyer. And then there are some really funky funky covers for women alcoholics, guys. You just please, you got to go over there and have a peek. It is pretty awesome. For our listeners on YouTube, join our WhatsApp group, Design for Living. We're there. Reach out to one of us and you can find all these awesome awesome bits of AA history. Yeah, and then I just also want to just spend some time on this. AAs surveyed are less than 30 years of age. 7% of the AAs surveyed are less than 30 years of age. Among them, many in their teens. When I read that, I was like, I've seen 1 or 2 teens come into our rooms here in my face-to-face home group, and I'm seeing them celebrate 2 years now. I heard about a 2-year birthday party a month ago, and the other one was just before December. And I look at them, and there's 2 things that go through my mind. Damn, I wish I had got this at that age. And then there's another question in my mind, but have they really lost everything? Now, that's not for me to determine. This is just Nadia. Please, this is Nadia's opinion. This is not anything from the book. And I don't want to hold anyone to this. Those are the two thoughts that went through my mind. And then I went over and I looked at working with others. Because I thought to myself, what happens when I'm approached by a teenager? And then I just remember the book tells me what I need to do for no matter who comes my way, male or female, teenager or geriatric, it doesn't matter. The book will tell me what I need to do for me to know if they're done. Because if you don't know that you've got a problem, you're not going to take the solution, right? Regardless of what age you are. And I know Bill's got lots to say on this. So I quickly want to look over, and the teens brochure is also being popped in. There's a really cool F9 pamphlet. Thank you, conference approved. And I love the illustrations on that pamphlet for the teens, the 12 questions that they ask a teenager. And I'm just going over to page 90. When we work with a new prospect, right at the top, page 90, working with others. When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. Not just the drinking, the drunk dogs, and the war stories, but the behavior prior to all of that. How self-manifested. You know, what is their link? What was their belief systems? What was their religion, their religious upbringing? How did self-manifest that restless, irritable discontent, the selfishness and the self-centeredness in their story? Yeah. And if they're done, then we go, then we go. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time, and we can go find another prospect who's got the desperation of a drowning man. So that was just something that came up to me while I was reading that. Well, you want to jump?
You're giving me far too much credit for this portion, this paragraph. I like the fact that you, unlike some of them, you don't just stay on the page. If you find something in the book that corresponds or has correlation with what's read about earlier in the book, you find that, and I applaud you on that. And it's important, we hear things in meetings, and again, well-intentioned, a lot of misinformed, where they tell the newcomer, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, we don't want to hear what you have to say. And that directly contradicts the instructions. And even so, it tells us in A Vision for You, I believe. And the premise of this meeting, which was read at the beginning by Rob, right? That once a week, gatherings were held together for newcomers to come in and bring their problems. And I understand, I don't want someone with 2 days off of whatever they're coming in off of now trying to be the moderator of the meeting, right? So I was at a meeting the other day, and someone said, a guy with 2 days can carry our message to a guy with 1 day. And I said, that's kind of contradictory, because a guy with 2 days doesn't know what our message is. Now, he can tell the guy, keep coming back, or encourage him. But until, and my sponsor says, you can help one alcoholic if he's relying on you, and you'll help one alcoholic, or you can carry the message and almost sponsor thousands. The fact is, we have a message to carry. And sometimes the well-meaning stuff, the time bullies in AA, and there are some of those. I've met some, and maybe I tried to be at one time. Unfortunately, I didn't have any time, so I was really an imposter. But the fact of the matter is, we believe that the new person is the most important person in the meeting because they're the lifeblood of our fellowship. They don't take precedence over the group, so we don't let them dominate. But we want to find out all we can about it. What's going on in your life? Because not all of us come in with the same circumstances. We all come in with the same malady most often. But if you read that article, and thank God Rob found it lickety split, he could find anything on here. I'm not going to ask him to look up my criminal record, because if he posts that, I'm not coming back. But the reality, it says, guess what? It may be a nursing student that has to go to 3 meetings as part of their education to find out about Alcoholics Anonymous. And if they don't know the difference between an open and a closed, and most schoolings tell them, find an open meeting, and they look. A lot of people respect our traditions and more than we do, and there are some other fellowships that respect our traditions more than we do. But that's a growing process in time. But it's just interesting to see that if we relate everything to the book, which is our message, then we don't have these conflicting things at the level of the meetings. So although we call the meetings Alcoholics Anonymous and the book Alcoholics Anonymous and the program Alcoholics Anonymous, we find out that although all three of those bear our name, Alcoholics Anonymous is really spirit. In fact, it may be a pseudonym for God. Thank God.
All right, thank you. Anybody's just joined us, or if you want to, let's go back. Let's see where we are. We're on forward to the 3rd edition, and it's Roman numerals page 22, XXII, and we're in the middle of that page. The basic principle of the AA program, it appears, hold good for individuals with many different lifestyles, just as the program has brought recovery to those of many different nationalities. The 12 steps that summarize the program may be called Los 12 Pasos in one country, Les 12 Étapes in another, but they trace exactly the same path to recovery that was blazed by the earliest memories of members of Alcoholics Anonymous. So here's a lot going on. Here. First of all, the basic principles of the AA program, it appears, hold good for individuals with many different lifestyles. So I mentioned previously, I'm not sure. I haven't double checked this. I could be wrong. I normally am wrong. So let's just say Nadia's wrong. But for all intents and purposes where we are now, I think there's 256 12-step fellowships based on this basic text. They've been tweaked. They've been given different covers, a couple of bits added and subtracted, whichever. Like I mentioned, some that come to mind: Gamblers Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, and so we go on and on. So this program has contributed to those with different lifestyles, but the solution's there. But listen to what it says here. But they trace exactly the same path. So let's go see where that exactly has been mentioned previously in the book. We're gonna go check it out. Let's go. Page XXII. Sorry, XIII. Oh, hold on. Let's start again. That is Roman numerals 13, page XIII. I have to go find it as well. Oh my gosh, here it is. They are referring to exactly, and it says here, the third, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. And then it goes on to say, so precisely, exactly, precisely, no deviation. It also says, and again, it's going to make reference to this, and we've seen this, we've heard this before. Rarely have we, you guys can say the rest because you've heard this at the meeting, every single meeting. How it works, chapter 5, right at the top. How it works, chapter 5, page 58. Let's go over there. And what does it say? Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. That's the deal. It's like one of the biggest awesome problems. And that's just fact. It's just a fact statement. Rarely have we seen a person follow this path, but that's a discussion for another day. And here's my favorite. This is, and we're keeping in line with another metaphor that Bill, I love him, the way he writes, and he's making annotations to fire. He talks about a spark, and I couldn't find the other reference that he made to a flame or I can't remember. Oh, I'm so sorry, but it doesn't matter. Here's the third one, and he's talking about blaze. Now this trail is blazing, right? The flames are starting to lick up because the thing is taking off like wildfire. So where he talks about the spark is on page XB, Roman numerals 15. I'll give you all some time because I need some time to go there. I'm getting a little bit I'm getting a little bit lost here with the Roman numerals, X's and I's and V's and whatnot. All right, let's go look. Roman numerals XV, page 15. It is forward to the second edition. He talks about the spark there, right at the bottom. The spark that was to flare into the first AA meeting. Yeah, he's talking about our earliest members blazing that trail. Love it, right? Fire. We're on fire for this thing. I know I am.
You know, Rob put something interesting in the chat if everyone didn't look yet. And like a couple of weeks ago, I had said, wow, I didn't realize that when this book was written, it was 4 years before or after something had taken place. I forget what it was. It's on the recording. It was important at the time. But this edition came out 5 years after Bill Wilson died. And Rob was so kind of posted up earlier to say, look at the change in the manner of the writing. You know, even though they used it at the bottom, the word blazed, this wasn't Bill Wilson's writing. And I did not know. So I'm attributing this to Rob. So if I'm wrong, you can blame him. But apparently Bill wrote the foreword to the first and the second edition. I did not know that. I would have assumed, and you know that assume is to make an ass out of you and me, but I would have assumed that the people who were the compendium, not AA Big Book Compendium, but the compendium of the fellowship would have written the foreword. I never even would have given that any thought that Bill wrote the first two forewords. And however, Rob, I'll go on record as saying if Bill's in the world of the spirit, he might be writing the forward to the 5th edition. I don't know.
So Bill, I'm gonna raise your ace, and I'm gonna raise you, and I'm gonna take you to something that he told us on page 164. This makes me cry every single time. Every single time I read these words. So maybe that's what was going on there, right? He says here, we shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. They're with us because they're with us.
And do you know how visionary that was, Nadia? That was in the first edition, page 164. Last night at my old home group in Cleveland, Ohio, I sat with Gutter Bravado at a meeting. So how visionary this was. And I don't know if Bill knew they were going to change the stories in the first printing, Rob, or add to the stories as the fellowship expanded. There's another spiritual book that says if you add or take away anything from this book, God's going to do that to you. Over here, we're open to everything. But as the fellowship grows and the membership, the differentiation between the membership changes, we get new additions with new stories. Some are rearranged, some are taken out, some are added, so on and so forth, to reflect the current membership, which is the purpose of the book. In one of our narratives, it tells us that. I don't know if it's an appendix or a foreword or a preface. However, keeping that in mind, what did I start with? What was I saying? Oh, so I'm surely meeting some of these people as we trudge the road of happy destiny. And there's actually a group that's having as many people that are still alive that have their personal stories in the book come and tell their stories at the group level in a speaker meeting. So this remains visionary as well in so many areas that I don't even know if Bill considered that at the time of writing, but we truly believe maybe Bill was just the instrument, that God was the author of this book. So it's just amazing what takes place when we open our minds, and I'm not just reading it as an assignment for my sponsor, or even reading it at a meeting so I can come up with something brilliant to share, but studying the book, and as you said, the words come off the page, it becomes alive and it speaks to us. And that's probably the intent behind the master author who really wrote the book.
That's it. The one who has all power. He was visionary. So true. I'm having so much fun here. So can I just like have a moment to just love this stuff. Just love this stuff. I do. All right. We are on the last paragraph. Here's Bill. Here's Bill's favorite paragraph of this. So we're gonna we're at forward to the third edition. We're at the last paragraph of this page. In spite of the great increase in the size and the span of this fellowship, at its core, it remains simple and personal. Each day, somewhere in the world, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks with another alcoholic, sharing experience, strength, and hope. In spite of the great increase in the size and the span of this fellowship, at the core, it remains simple. Now, where else are we going to see simple? There's going to be a few places, but let's go to the page that's closest to this. Let's swim on over to page 14. Like I said, there's a lot of repetition here, but there's some divine mastermindedness going on. Page 14, right at the top, the third line. There it is, simple, but not easy. A price had to be paid. So at the core, this program, this remains simple and personal. Each day, where else is that reference made, guys? Daily reprieve, right? Daily reprieve. We've got to walk day by day with the new man. Let's go see daily reprieve on page 85. Page 85. Whoops, the insects are coming in. Page 85, the second paragraph, about the fourth line down, it says, we are not cured of alcoholism. For those that raise their eyes when we use the word recovered alcoholic, we're not cured, okay, but we are recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body, but that's a discussion for another tape. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. Each day. The reason I'm hammering on this is because Bill called us agents earlier, right? That's like we come into these rooms, we do this work, and we get given an identity. We're a child of God. We're an intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever advancing creation. The thing is, we don't get a day off. We don't get a day off. The work contract we have, because God's our new employer, the contract we have is we work for God, but we don't get a day off. We just don't get a day off. And it starts talking about that right now, each day.
Did you mention where,
I thought,
before the third step? Did you mention that part of the simple? Most good ideas are simple. And this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we pass to freedom. For so long, as long as we're studying the book, and we'll get there, we just won't get there today. I always thought that the third step was something different than what it really was intended to be. It refers to the third step as an idea, right? Voicing the idea. It talks about most good ideas are simple. This concept, which is an idea, and you'll hear people, and the more I stay here, and the more I realize that some of the stuff we're told sounds good, and you could put it in like an AA coloring book and give it to kindergartners, but it doesn't have much depth and weight here. They used to say the only thing you have to change in AA is one thing, and it's everything. And I think if I understand the premise to all this, the only thing that I have to do in AA, the only thing I have to change, Nadia, is my mind. I got to change my mind. My thinking's flawed. And it's talking about it. The third step has very little to do with God. I always thought I had to believe in God, know what his will was, show me what it'll be, and then I'll surrender, and so on and so forth. And what the third step is about is me becoming convinced that my life run by me isn't working. It hasn't worked, and it's probably pretty obvious that it's not going to work. What I do at step 3 is become convinced in the hopelessness and futility of my life the way I'm living it. That opens the door to step 2. Step 3, I don't even need to believe in God there. And I'm going to say one more thing on the record. The 3 pertinent ideas in the very next line in our book says being convinced of those ideas. We were at step 3. I think that there's a little wiggle room. And what I mean by that is this: I'm not rewriting the book. But if I'm just willing to be convinced, because there were many times, Rob, that I said the third step prayer with icons in AA. I took my third step prayer at Dr. Bob's house. And when I stood up, I was the same idiot as when I got down on my knees. Because I don't know that I was convinced at that point that God could and would. Maybe it was a theory that he could and would, but guess what? If I was willing to take the action and be willing to be convinced, in time, the manifestation of that convincing could come to pass. I almost died because I wasn't so sure. I mean, it was a theory. I didn't know it worked for you, and you said it worked for you, but how am I convinced that it's going to work for me if I haven't done it? Right? If you tell me if I haven't been to South Africa, I might not be convinced that it's better than the United States. But why don't I go and find out, and then I can either be convinced, or I could go back to my original closed-minded theory that I'm in the only and best place that exists. So there's something to be said for that, and it talks about it. It's all stuff that takes place in the mind, and then I pick up the pen and see what's blocking me from changing my mind. I share it, and all of a sudden the light comes on, and I realize that my mind was dark only when the light came in. How could I know it's dark if I'm living in darkness? It makes perfect sense to me.
Oh, we're going to have lots of fun when we get over to how it works. Just some reference there, what Bill was speaking about, the 3 pertinent ideas on page 60. We hear them at meetings so many times. Let's just read them together. A, so we become our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he was sought. And you know what? You're all here with us tonight. It looks to me like you're seeking God. I'm in the right room here, Bill. What do you think? We're in the right room here. We've got people seeking. That's what we're doing here. I thought recovery began when I started praying and meditating. But these things, they strengthened my relationship with God. It says here, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks to another. Sharing.
And because that's such, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna finish this up. Sharing experience, strength, and hope. On page 18, it makes reference to that as well. There's 2 pages here, Bill. I'll be done and then you can go for it. On page 18, it's talking on page 18, the 1, 2, 3rd paragraph. But the ex-problem drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, properly armed with the facts of himself. When you're sitting, you share on your experience. What gave you strength? What was it that happened that gave you the strength and the hope? And also another direction on how we share and how we, when we're armed with the facts, how we approach the prospect. It says here, our stories on page 58, chapter 5, how it works, the second paragraph. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, our war stories, our dialogues, the way that this disease manifested, its selfishness, its self-centeredness, full flight from reality, outright mental defective when we were kids. What happened? That magic rock bottom, that hand of AA that reached out, and what we are like now, what our lives are like now. That's going to give that person the hope. That's how we share. That's how someone armed with the facts will come across with their experience, strength, and hope.
And because I believe that's a principle, what I wanted to say there is I so really cut you off. Is it doesn't say who recovery begins for. In other words, when Bill went to the hospital all down and depressed and in self-pity, he felt amazingly lifted up because he went to talk with another alcoholic, sharing experience, strength, and hope. And early on, I might not be convinced. What was the new thing that I heard in it? I don't know that you could validate it, but it kind of makes sense. They say you got to give it away to keep it. Some of these people lately have been saying you've got to give it away to get it. And there's some merit to that. As I start, I wasn't always sold on this, but then I find myself talking to my brother who allegedly was sicker than I, that we don't know that for sure. I'm not taking a vote. But all of a sudden, I started to become sold on what I was talking about as I was talking about it more and more. And I think one of the adages is we teach what we need to learn, or something like that. So as I'm passing on something to someone else, maybe the spirit begins to grow, or even at that point comes alive in me, and recovery can take place for a guy like me who was just abstinent. So that's how because there's no other way this thing could have gotten off the ground with that few people on this platform the way it did to reach the world the way it has. I mean, it's an interesting concept. They had to have something in it. We add, God multiplies, and he certainly multiplied.
Man, I love what you just shared, Bill, because that makes me think of in We Agnostics. I just want to run with this because I love what you just shared. It grows. We preach most what we need to learn, right? We got to get it by giving it away. So it says here, and how could that be? How could that be? Because in We Agnostics, where is God? Is that not God? Is that not God just multiplying by, like you said, addition by subtraction? It says in We Agnostics, oh my gosh, I've got so excited I lost my place. It says that the great reality is deep down inside. So that's what's happening. We're sharing and we're multiplying, and it's just, this truth is just coming from the outside, and it's just growing. It's just ablaze. I love that. Thank you. So that's it. We did it in an hour, Bill. We did it. We did the one page in an hour. Rob,